Hey, I'd like to introduce you to a Washington, D.C. based organization that has been doing amazing work in the trans community, an organization that advocates to change policies and society to increase understanding and acceptance of transgender people. I'm speaking of the National Center for Transgender Equality. In the nation's capital and throughout the country, the National Center for Transgender Equality works to replace disrespect, discrimination, and violence with empathy, opportunity, and justice. The National Center for Transgender Equality was founded in 2003 by transgender activists who recognized the urgent need for policy change in order to advance transgender equality. With a committed board of directors, a volunteer staff of only one, and a donated office space, they set out to accomplish what no one else yet had done: provide a powerful transgender advocacy presence in Washington, D.C. Today, the National Center for Transgender Equality has grown to a staff of over 20 and works the local, state, and federal levels to change laws, policies, and society. In fact, the National Center for Transgender Equality oversees a ton of pro-trans initiatives and projects, including the Racial and Economic Justice Initiative, which ensures the perspectives and priorities of transgender people of color and those who live in urban and rural property are part of the national policy and advocacy agenda. The Trans Legal Services Network, helping every transgender person navigate the complicated name and gender change process and confidently address other legal issues they may face. The Voices of Trans Equality Initiative, which empowers transgender people and allies so they can become better advocates for transgender rights and use their voices to demand dignity and respect for all. And the Families for Trans Equality, a network of families with trans youth and groups that support these families who all want to change policies and society to improve trans lives. If you identify as trans or know a person that is, please make sure that they know about the National Center for Transgender Equality organization. They have multiple resources available to the trans community, offer self-help guides and answers to questions, and are here to serve the trans community with compassion and understanding. And if you want to find out more about the amazing work that the National Center for Transgender Equality is doing, just visit transequality.org. There you can learn about all the programs and services offered. You can learn more information about the trans community, ways to get involved and volunteer and or donate to this incredible group today. That's right. You can also sign up for their newsletter and check out their upcoming fundraising events. That's transequality.org. Transequality.org. It's time for your gay history lesson. That's right. Today we are going to learn about the mother of trashy drag, the star of multiple John Waters directed cult classics, and once called the drag queen of the century by People magazine. We're talking about Divine. Born in 1945, Harris Glenn Milstead, known by his stage name Divine, was an American actor, singer, and drag queen. He was born in Baltimore, Maryland, to a conservative middle-class family, developing an early interest in drag while working as a women's hairdresser. In the mid-1960s, he had embraced the city's counterculture scene and befriended John Waters, the independent filmmaker who gave him the name Divine, and the best tagline for a drag queen ever: the most beautiful woman in the world, almost. Later, Divine joined Waters' acting troupe, The Dreamlanders, and adopted female roles for their experimental short films, including Roman Candles of 1966, Eat Your Makeup of 1968, and The Diane Linkletter Story of 1969. He also starred as the leading roles in both of Waters' early full-length movies, Mondo Trasho of 1969 and Multiple Maniacs of 1970, both in full drag, of course. Then in 1972, Divine starred in Waters' Pink Flamingos, which proved a hit on the U.S. midnight movie circuit. It became a cult classic and established Divine's fame within the American counterculture scene. After starring in the lead role in Waters' next film, Female Trouble in 1974, Divine moved on to theater, appearing in several avant-garde performances alongside San Francisco's drag collective, The Cockettes. What a name. Continuing his cinematic work, he starred in two more of Waters' films, Polyester of 1981 and Hairspray of 1988, which became his breakthrough into mainstream cinema and which he was nominated for the Independent Spirit Award for Best Supporting Male Actor. So you've all seen Hairspray, the original. Hopefully, if you haven't, you need to go watch it. It's amazing. He also appeared as a man in a number of other films, such as Lust in the Dust and Trouble in the Mind, both of 1985, seeking to diversify his repertoire. Then in 1981, Divine embarked on a career in the disco industry by producing a number of high-energy music tracks, most of which were written by Bobby Orlando. He achieved international chart success with hits like You Think You're a Man and I'm So Beautiful and Walk Like a Man, all of which were performed in drag. Unfortunately, in 1988, after years of struggling with obesity throughout his life, he died from heart issues shortly after the release of Hairspray. And speaking of Hairspray, this little fun fact, Divine admitted that he had hoped to play both the role of the mother and the daughter in Hairspray, but the producers had been a little bit leery, so they chose Ricki Lake for the role of the daughter instead. Isn't that crazy? If you want to learn more about the big, trashy, glam life of Divine, you can log on to our website, outoftheclosetpodcast.com, for more information, photos, and links to Divine, the counterculture drag queen. And that's your gay history lesson for the week. All right, you have to join us next week where we are going to learn an all-new lesson where we'll discuss closeted Hollywood. The time when the Hollywood studios would marry off gay stars to keep their sexuality a secret. Ooh, that's some secret Hollywood gossip we're going to spill, y'all. So you won't want to miss out on next week's gay history lesson. So listen and learn, because the best student in the class gets a lifetime subscription to International Male Magazine. Well, this is the official close to this episode of the Out of the Closet podcast/vodcast. Thank you all so much for listening and or watching. I really, honestly do appreciate your time and your support. I want to thank all of our guests that joined us today. Thank you to our magical vacation planner of the stars, your go-to contact for all things Disney, NATALIE TULL. If you'd like to get in touch with NATALIE, it's really easy to do. Just go to outoftheclosetpodcast.com to get her website, contact her via email, or even get her cell phone number. And you can follow her on her social media channels for Disney tricks, tips, and discounts. We hope you enjoyed our piece on why all the letters and the symbol of the LGBTQAI+ are important for us to include. And a huge thank you to all of our amazing sponsors. They are all gay-owned and or gay-friendly sponsors, and I encourage you to check them all out and support them all, every single one of them. All right, please. All right, for a list of our sponsors and our listener discounts. That's right, you get listener discounts. All right, just visit outoftheclosetpodcast.com. If you're interested in advertising, please visit our website, or you can email me directly at andrew@outoftheclosetpodcast.com. And you can advertise on this show for less than you spend on a custom leather harness for your upcoming post-COVID gay cruise. Let's face it, it's cheap, it's affordable, and it supports this gay-owned podcast. For all things Out of the Closet Podcast and to see videos from today's show, log on to outoftheclosetpodcast.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel by searching for Out of the Closet Podcast with me, your host, Andrew Pettke. That's Pettke. And you can follow the show on Insta, Twitter, and Facebook at Podcast OOTC. And if you have show ideas, questions, or need advertising or more information, just email me. I'd love to hear from you. Or you can reach out to me on social media. Either way, it's great, okay? And if you'd like to nominate a charity to be highlighted on this weekly podcast, please shoot me a message too, okay? All right, now you have to join us for next week's podcast for another amazing time. I have an awesome guest that you're not going to want to miss for next week's show, so get your snacks ready and put on your cutest podcast listening outfit. Plus, that's Hollywood, folks. A look into how movie studios would marry off their gay stars to keep their sexuality a secret in the golden age of film. Which actors have been in these lavender marriages just for the sake of their career and to keep the studios happy? Well, tune in and listen, and you'll find out all the juicy, scandalous details. And we'll highlight Marsha P. Johnson Institute's COVID-19 Relief Fund, created for Black, transgender, and or non-binary, and those still impacted by the COVID-19 crisis. And of course, gay history, games, fabulous outfits, laughs, and more. on the next episode of the Out of the Closet podcast. Woo! Thank you so much for listening. If you love the podcast, please spread the word. Tell everyone about this awesome podcast. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Make sure you go out there, be safe, be proud, and strive to always be the most true version of yourself. Can I get an amen? Amen. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Woo!